Warm greetings everyone. I am Dr. Purnima Khanna, Assistant Professor of Law from Khalsa College of Law, Amritsar. My dear students, our today's topic of discussion is Dissolution of Marriage under Parsi Law. The learning outcomes from the today's module will be the introduction, Law Commission of India's consultation paper on Reform of Family Law 2018, Dissolution of Marriage under Parsi Law, then fault grounds for divorce, also the divorce on the ground of irretrievable breakdown of marriage, and then divorce by mutual consent. We will also discuss about establishment of Parsi matrimonial courts. Finally, the concluding part. My dear students, let's begin with the introduction. The Parsis are a minority religious community in India, primarily based in Mumbai, who follow Zoroastrian religion. After Jews, the Parsis form the smallest portion of the whole world's population. Parsis came to India in the 10th century. Before 1865, the English law of marriage as well as of divorce was made applicable to the Parsi community. It is pertinent to note that the indissolubility of a marriage was an abhorrent idea for them. The Privy Council in Ardasir Karsetzi versus Firoz Bai's case held that it had no jurisdiction to entertain a suit brought by a Parsi wife against her husband for restitution of conjugal rights or for maintenance. Thus, the Parsis were left without a tribunal to enforce the rights and obligations arising out of a marriage. A number of representations were made before the British government. As a consequence thereof, a commission was appointed by the Bombay government to inquire into the usages recognized by Parsis in India in order to inquire into the necessity of a specific legislation to govern family matters of Parsi community. On 7th April 1865, the Parsi Marriage and Divorce Act was passed. This act was repealed by the Parsi Marriage and Divorce Act 1936, which was subsequently amended in 1988. Let's begin with the analysis of Law Commission of India consultation paper on Reform of Family Law 2018. The Commission observed that the Parsi community's personal law has remained largely untouched, so much so that it continues to preserve the jury system for hearing divorce cases. In the recent case filed by Naomi Syam Irani, Parsi law's jury system has been challenged before the Supreme Court. The bench sits only twice in a year to confirm divorces, and it entails a jury to oversee the divorce proceedings despite the fact that the jury system has been abolished in India several decades ago for all other cases in 1950s and 60s. Section 18 of Parsi Marriage and Divorce Act 1936 provides for the constitution of special court in Mumbai, Chennai and Kolkata, where the respective Chief Justice of the High Court has the power to appoint a judge who would then decide on the issues of maintenance, alimony, custody of children, etc., with the aid of 5 other appointed delegates. My dear students, it was further appointed by the Law Commission that the requirement of a jury to confirm divorce is not only archaic but also tedious and complicated. The procedure for divorce should entail citing available and recognized grounds, subsequent to which the divorce may be confirmed as done under the Special Marriage Act 1954. Not only does this cause inordinate delays and inconvenience to people living outside metropolitan cities, but these systems also discourage intercommunity marriage. The approach of the Commission towards these reforms is not to attain similarity of procedure, but to address the delay and discrimination. Once this is achieved, all procedures, ceremonies, customs, even if different, will lead to the same end. For Parsis, the procedure of divorce not only needs to be simplified, but also marrying outside the community should not estrange persons from their religion, nor should they have to forfeit their inheritance rights. The very idea that upon marriage a woman must discard her religious or social identity and acquire only that of her husband goes against the idea of equal partnership in marriage. Not only should women have a right to follow their customs, rites, and rituals, but also they should be under no obligation to give up their maternal or paternal surname. According to the Commission, all grounds recognized under Parsi Marriage and Divorce Act of 1936 may remain as they are. The only amendment may be with respect to procedure of divorce. In the Parsi Marriage and Divorce Amendment Act of 1988, mutual consent was recognized as a ground for divorce. However, the Act doesn't recognize irretrievable breakdown of marriage as ground for divorce or community of property which should be incorporated. Further, Section 33, which applies in the cases where the grounds for divorce is adultery, makes the person with whom the adultery was committed a co-defendant. This should be deleted. Marriage is premised on an understanding between two individuals, while adultery should remain a ground for divorce for both the parties. The inclusion of the third person for the purposes of compensation only serves to commoditize the person who has committed the adultery, as though compensation, monetary or otherwise, is settlement for damages. Under no religion, it is permissible that a husband can treat his wife as chattel. The issue of adultery, as discussed earlier, is sub judice before the Supreme Court. Now, my dear learners, let's discuss about the dissolution of marriage under Parsi law. The Parsi Marriage and Divorce Act 1936 is a legislation that governs marriage, divorce and other family matters within Parsi community in India. It also lays down rules for registration of marriages and divorces, maintenance, custody of children and other related matters. It also allows for dissolution of marriage through mutual consent or by the decree of a court. The Act also provides for the appointment of Parsi marriage and divorce registrars. They are responsible for registering marriages and divorces within the Parsi community. The registrars are appointed by the government and are responsible for maintaining a register of marriages and divorces. Another ground is whereabouts of a spouse is not known for a period of 7 years. Section 31 of the Parsi Marriage and Divorce Act 1936 provides that for dissolution of marriage on the ground of disappearance of a spouse for a period of 7 years. It states that if a husband or wife shall have been continually absent for the space of 7 years and shall not have been heard of as being alive within that time by those persons who would have naturally heard of him or her, had she or he been alive, the marriage of such husband or wife may, at the instance of either party thereto, be dissolved. Dear learners, now let's analyze the fault grounds of divorce under the Parsi law. Section 32 of the Act provides for fault grounds of divorce, whereby an aggrieved spouse may file for divorce on the ground of fault committed by the other spouse. It states that any married person may sue for divorce on any of the following grounds. Firstly, willful refusal to consummate. If the marriage has not been consummated within 1 year after its solemnization owing to the willful refusal of the defendant to consummate it, the aggrieved party may file for divorce. Second ground is unsoundness of mind at the time of marriage. Either party to marriage may sue for divorce if the defendant's spouse at the time of marriage was of unsound mind and has been habitually so up to the date of the suit. It is further provided that divorce shall not be granted on this ground unless the plaintiff was ignorant of the fact at the time of the marriage, or the plaintiff filed the suit within 3 years from the date of the marriage. Next ground is unsoundness of mind after the marriage. An aggrieved party is entitled to file a divorce on the ground that the defendant has been incurably of unsound mind for a period of 2 years or more immediately preceding the filing of the suit, or has been suffering continuously or intermittently from mental disorder of such kind and to such an extent that the plaintiff cannot reasonably be expected to live with the defendant. As per the explanation provided, the expression mental disorder means mental illness, arrest or incomplete development of mind, psychopathic disorder or any other disorder or disability of mind, including schizophrenia. It is further explained that the expression psychopathic disorder means a persistent disorder or disability of mind, whether or not including subnormality of intelligence, that results in abnormally aggressive or seriously irresponsible conduct on the part of the defendant. Another fault ground is premarital pregnancy from a person other than the husband. If the defendant wife was pregnant at the time of marriage by some person other than the plaintiff husband, he may file for the divorce. However, the divorce shall not be granted on this ground unless the plaintiff was at the time of marriage ignorant of the fact alleged. The suit has been filed within 2 years of the date of the marriage, and also the marital intercourse has not taken place after the plaintiff came to know of the fact. Next ground is adultery. Adultery is one of the fault grounds for divorce under the Act available to the aggrieved spouse. It is provided that the defendant has since the marriage committed adultery or fornication or bigamy or rape or unnatural offence. However, the plaintiff shall file the suit for divorce within 2 years after the plaintiff came to know about such adultery. Section 33 provides that in every such suit for divorce on the ground of adultery, the plaintiff shall, unless the court shall otherwise order, make the person with whom the adultery is alleged to have been committed a co-defendant. If such a suit is filed by the husband, the court may order the adulterer to pay the whole or any part of the costs of the proceedings. Another fault ground is cruelty. An aggrieved spouse may file for divorce on the ground that the other spouse has since the solemnization of marriage treated the plaintiff with cruelty or has behaved in such a way as to render it in the judgment of the court improper to compel the plaintiff to live with the defendant. However, in every suit for divorce on this ground, it shall be in the discretion of the court whether it should grant a decree for divorce or for judicial separation only. Next important fault ground is voluntarily causing grievous hurt. The plaintiff's spouse may file for divorce on the ground that the defendant's spouse has, since the marriage, voluntarily causing grievous hurt or has infected the plaintiff with venereal diseases, or where the defendant is the husband, she has compelled the wife to submit herself to prostitution. It is noteworthy that such a suit can be filed only within 2 years after the infliction of grievous hurt, or after the plaintiff came to know of the infection, or after the last act of compulsory prostitution. Section 2, Clause 4 of the Act explains grievous hurt, which includes emasculation, permanent privation of the sight of either eye, permanent privation of the hearing of either ear, privation of any member or joint, destruction or permanent impairing of the powers of any member of the joint, permanent disfiguration of the head or face, or any hurt which endangers life. Next fault ground is 7 years imprisonment. Where a spouse is undergoing a sentence of imprisonment for 7 years or more for an offence as defined in the Indian Penal Code, the other spouse may file for divorce on this ground. However, divorce shall not be granted on this ground unless the defendant has, prior to the filing of the suit, undergone at least 1 year's imprisonment out of the said period. Then, next ground is desertion. An aggrieved spouse may file for divorce on the ground that the other spouse has deserted the plaintiff for at least 2 years. Non-resumption of cohabitation is the next fault ground, where an order has been passed against the defendant by a magistrate awarding separate maintenance to the plaintiff, and the parties have not had marital intercourse for 1 year or more since such decree or order, a ground for divorce is created. Conversion is also a fault ground. If one of the spouses ceases to be a Parsi by conversion to another religion, the other spouse is entitled to file for divorce. However, the divorce shall not be granted on this ground if the suit has been filed more than 2 years after the plaintiff came to know of the fact of conversion by the other spouse. Dear learners, next important law point here is divorce on the ground of irretrievable breakdown of marriage. By the amendment of 1988, Section 32A was inserted to the Parsi Marriage and Divorce Act of 1936, whereby the divorce on the ground of irretrievable breakdown of marriage was introduced. It is provided that either party to a marriage may sue for divorce on the ground, number one, that there has been no resumption of cohabitation as between the parties to the marriage for a period of 1 year or upwards after the passing of a decree for judicial separation in a proceeding to which they were parties. Or secondly, there has been no restitution of conjugal rights between the parties to the marriage for a period of 1 year or more after the passing of a decree for restitution of conjugal rights in a proceeding to which they were parties. It is further provided that no decree for divorce shall be granted if the plaintiff has failed or neglected to comply with an order for maintenance passed against him under Section 40 of this Act or Section 125 of the Code of Criminal Procedure. Next important point under this module is divorce by mutual consent. The amendment of 1988 also introduced divorce by mutual consent under the Parsi law by inserting Section 32B. It states that a suit for divorce may be filed by both the parties to a marriage together on the ground that they have been living separately for a period of 1 year or more, that they have not been able to live together. They have mutually agreed that the marriage should be dissolved. It is further provided that no suit for divorce by mutual consent shall be filed unless at the date of the filing of the suit 1 year has elapsed since the date of the marriage. The court shall, on being satisfied, after hearing the parties and after making such inquiry as it thinks fit, that a marriage has been solemnized under this Act and the averments in the plaint are true, and that the consent of either party to the suit was not obtained by force or fraud. The court may pass a decree declaring the marriage to be dissolved with effect from the date of the decree. Here, another point of importance is registration of divorces. Section 10 of the Act provides that when a court passes a decree for divorce, nullity or dissolution, the court shall send a copy of the decree for registration to the Registrar of Marriages within its jurisdiction appointed under Section 7 of the Act. The registrar shall enter the same in a register to be kept by him for the purpose. Parsi matrimonial code shall also be analysed here. Section 18 to 29 of the Act laid down provisions for the constitution of special courts in each of the presidency towns of Kolkata, Chennai and Mumbai, and in such other places in the territories of several state governments as such governments respectively shall think fit for the purpose of hearing suits under this Act. Another point is Parsi chief matrimonial courts. The court so constituted in each of the presidency towns shall be entitled the Parsi chief matrimonial court of Kolkata, Chennai and Mumbai. The Chief Justice of the High Court shall from time to time appoint the judge of such matrimonial court. The judge of the Parsi chief matrimonial court shall be aided by 5 delegates in all the proceedings of regular cases under the Act. Then comes Parsi district matrimonial courts. Every court so constituted at a place other than a presidency town shall be entitled the Parsi district matrimonial court of such place. The local limits of the jurisdiction of such court shall be coterminous with the limits of the district in which it is held. The judge of the principal court of original civil jurisdiction at such place shall be the judge of such matrimonial court, and in the trial of the cases under this Act, he shall be aided by 5 delegates. Another point to be discussed here is power to alter territorial jurisdiction of district courts. The state government may from time to time alter the local limits of the jurisdiction of any Parsi district matrimonial court and may include within such limits any number of districts under its government. How the delegates are appointed? The state government shall in the presidency towns and the districts appoint persons to be delegates to aid in the adjudication of cases arising under this Act. The local Parsis shall be given an opportunity of expressing their opinion in such a manner as the respective governments may think fit. The persons so appointed shall be Parsis. Their names shall be published in the official gazette and their number shall, within the local limits of the ordinary original civil jurisdiction of a high court, be not more than 30, and in districts beyond such limits not more than 20. All delegates appointed under this Act shall be considered to be public servants within the meaning of the Indian Penal Code. Let's discuss about the power to appoint new delegates. The appointment of a delegate shall be for 10 years, but he shall be eligible for reappointment for the like term or terms. However, the state government may appoint new delegates in the following circumstances: where there is a death of a delegate, or on completion of term of office of a delegate, or relinquishment of office by a delegate, or refusal by or incapability of a delegate, or if a delegate ceases to be a Parsi, then conviction of a delegate of an offence under the Indian Penal Code, or in case of insolvency of a delegate. Who will be practitioners in such matrimonial courts? All legal practitioners entitled to practice in a high court shall be entitled to practice in any court constituted under this Act, and all legal practitioners entitled to practice in a district court shall be entitled to practice in any Parsi district matrimonial court constituted under this Act. My dear learners, we may conclude from the above-going discussion that the Parsi Marriage and Divorce Act 1936 is an important piece of legislation that governs the marriage and divorce laws within the Parsi community in India. It provides for the registration of marriages and divorces. Moreover, it also lays down rules for the maintenance and custody of children and ensures that the rights and interests of all the parties involved are protected. With this, we come to the end of today's lecture. Thank you very much.